What's up, everybody? Coach here. Happy Friday. Had a thought this week, and I think I finally got my head wrapped around it today. Maybe. We'll see. This idea that people sometimes have this expectation that information is going to be served to them. And I think this happens when we're young. It makes a lot of sense. Elementary age, this is primarily how we receive information. We request it, and teachers, parents, coaches, they provide it. But at some point, and I don't know if it's adolescence, middle school, but at some point I think what probably should happen is there's a transition where we don't always rely on everyone to serve us information. We take it upon ourselves to seek it, or at least I think we should, because I see a couple possible dangers with this approach. So a silly example would be, and we see this at school a lot, right? Student walks into class and yells out, "What's today's date?" You know, a quick 10-second survey would probably reveal the answer, as I write the date on the board every morning. Or they call out, "Hey, what time is it?" And again, a 10-second survey of the clock would reveal the answer. Get this one a lot too. "What time's this class over?" I've posted the bell schedule. It's been up there on the bulletin board since August, right? So, but in that moment, it's just easier. It's easier to just request information and then expect it to be served to them. I'm sure parents can relate to this. Maybe particularly moms out there can relate to that very common question of, "Hey mom, where's this thing that I'm missing?" Perhaps husbands do that a lot too. Because in the moment, it's just easier for us to request that information from the person that we think already knows the answer versus going and looking for it ourselves, right? And I think there's some domino effects to that process. If the child isn't in the habit of just asking mom where the baseball glove is that they can't find, but instead they go looking for it themselves, and then they find it and they realize how much work it took for them to find it, maybe next time they'll put it somewhere where they know where it'll be. So they're learning these developmental things along the way. Look, I go back to this idea, this expectation of, I'm going to just request info and then I'm going to expect to be served that information. The two big dangers that I see with this habit, and I know adults struggle with this too, is if you make a request, there's opportunity for that request to be denied. So you might request information and not get it. Now, if the example was as silly as the date, consequences are probably pretty low. If you don't get an answer when you ask what the date is, no big deal. But a lot of times the things that are on our plate are much bigger. They have a lot more weight. I think about things like politics and elections and worldview, healthcare. I mean, these decisions that you're making that you might be seeking information about, when you just request it and expect it to be served to you, you may not get answers. So then you're just left being ignorant. The second danger is, well, what if the information that you get is not accurate? Maybe the source is just lying to you. Maybe the source is just wrong. They're not lying, they're just wrong. They're misguided. I mean, certainly we can understand that, right? When people ask me my thought on something, I'll give them my answer, but it's probably going to have my opinion wrapped up in that, no matter how unbiased I try to remain. It's hard to do. We do this with media, especially adults. We look at media and we try to get information from them because we see them as a source. The problem is, how do we trust that that source is accurate always? So this request for information, the point is, at some point, if we can develop this idea that I want to seek information on my own, and clearly getting help and advice is part of the process too. Certainly there's some things about this life that I'm going to need to seek advice and help and assistance and guidance. But the point is the default setting, the habit. Do I just always call out and then expect informational service, so to speak? Or am I disciplined enough to try to figure it out on my own? And then if I'm still deficient in some way, then I'll seek help. The habits that I see some of our students have right now is that we're still kind of stuck in this habit of I'm just going to call out. I'm not going to try to figure some things out on my own. I'm just going to call out and hope someone serves me what I need. But again, I go back to those two big dangers. What if you don't get answers? What do you do then? Or maybe even worse, what if the answers you get aren't accurate? They're wrong. It's a lie. Whatever. It's a dangerous place to be, especially as you get older and some of these things have a lot more weight to them. So just a thought. Challenge everybody just to try to make sure you're trying to educate yourself first, and then if you need help, if you're still deficient in some ways, and seek some advice and some counseling and some guidance. But when it comes to information, do a little bit of work up front and see if you can figure it out on your own. There's a lot of things that might happen as a byproduct of that. Hope you guys had a good week, and I hope you have a great weekend. See ya.